Hey friends, it's John, and I just wanted to welcome everyone back to Pony Psychology. Now, since it's been so long since the last episode, I kind of want to reiterate what this series is and how it is defined. So, Pony Psychology, it started out as wanting to look into certain episodes, certain elements of the show, and look at them in a psychological light. In this particular episode, it is Tanks for the Memories, kind of going very in depth with the Kübler-Ross model and kind of just going through the 5 stages of grief and explaining them and kind of showing how they fit in the episode. Now, because of this, this is a very long form sort of podcast type of video. There is a link in the description to download it like a podcast. It's an MP3 on Mediafire. And if you're interested in just listening, that's great. This is that kind of video. There is a little bit of visual flair to the video, but it's mainly just something that you can listen to in the background if you really wanted to. So I'm excited for having this back up and running, and I hope you guys are too. So enjoy the episode.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is John,
And this is Connor.
and we're here for episode 3 of Pony Psychology. Now, you're probably wondering what in the heck has been going on this past year and a half, I think it's been. Well, basically, Chrome had to retire from the series, sadly. He just had a lot of other stuff going on, and he was focusing more on his music career, which, if you're interested, it's Procta and Starlight Productions. So he's kind of been over there with Procta, so it's been kind of cool. But I would like to introduce Connor, also known as Think Tank. Why don't you say a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everybody. Well, I'm just a, your normal, average, everyday brony who just loves watching the show. Full-time job, gonna be starting college soon, so, well, that's me.
Very cool. And I know you enjoy psychology a lot too.
Oh yeah, it's an interesting subject. I find quite fascinating, and I'd like to learn more about it.
So I mean, I met Connor at Ciderfest actually, and he seemed like a good fit for pony psychology. So here we are. Now, second off, actually two more. Second off is the fact that why isn't this the Pony Headcanons video? Well, I'm still waiting on some of the guests to get back to me on doing their own little headcanons because I want to make it a very special episode of Pony Psychology, and I just haven't been able to get everyone together so that we can actually get that done. But once it is done, I'll be able to upload it. And third off, very special thanks to my friend Tyrannist. He is the mod of the Tumblr blog Zephyrwing Asks, and he's the one that drew this beautiful artwork for us. So thank you very much, buddy. So this episode is going to be something that's been very recent because honestly, it's become another one of my absolute favorite episodes of the series, and that is Tanks for the Memories. I know I've already gushed about this during the reviews, but I'd like to dig a little deeper and go a little more psychologically on it. And I know a lot of people have, but I'd like to see if I can dig way deep. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited. Are you?
Oh, I'm stoked.
I know. It's going to be awesome. So the main thing we're going to be talking about is the if I can say things correctly, the Kübler-Ross model. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, the Kübler-Ross model is a series of emotional stages that are experienced by survivors of imminent death, people who are experiencing the grieving process from someone who is dying. It's basically the 5 stages of grief. And this has been a widely accepted way of the different places that people will go um, during the grieving process or during the acceptance of their own death. In this case, we're going to be looking at the outsider looking in because that's how the show went with Dash looking in on Tank's hibernation. So these 5 stages are known as denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Now, bargaining can also be known as fear of the unknown. But for the purposes of this episode, we're going to be looking at bargaining because that is actually what happened in the episode. We'll kind of break down what happened in the episode and kind of put our little psychological points and kind of just have fun with it. So,
Well, we also had some denial in there as well.
yes. And which we'll actually be getting to right now, actually. So the first stage, let's explain first. For denial, it's one of the first reactions that you get. When you hear that someone has died or is dying, it's a real jolt to your system. You don't really know what to think. And the first major reaction, natural reaction for us as human beings is that we'll deny it. No, that's not happening. That can't be happening. They're fine. Just let them
Well,
be.
yeah, because we don't want anything, terrible to happen, of course. So we make ourselves think that everything is going to be as it is.
Mm-hmm. And kind of going into the episode a little bit, the first time we see Dash experiencing denial is when he goes to is when she goes to Fluttershy and asks her what's going on with Tank. Well, he's fine. He's just getting ready to hibernate. And she sees the picture of the tortoise in the book, that many creatures, not just bears, hibernate, and that they use hibernation to store energy during the winter since there's a lot less food. And aside from the repeat lesson from Winter Wrap Up, which we already heard about hibernation, Dash automatically says that some pony put that in there as a joke. That's class A denial right there. I mean, it's written print. It's probably published book that
Don't believe
is out
everything.
there for facts,
Don't believe everything you read, children.
Yeah. But in this case, honestly, I think it was probably some sort of veterinarian textbook.
Yes.
Now, she goes as far as to go to Spike because technically they're both reptilian. And Spike is like, if Fluttershy says that Tank is going to hibernate, then I guarantee you that's what's going to happen. And Dash is like, well, what do you know? You're a dragon. Kind of flipping it on its head from when she was talking to Fluttershy to now leaving Spike. Because it's like, let me go talk to the real expert, being Spike, and then saying, well, what do you know? You're a dragon. So that denial going one step further.
Mm-hmm. Almost to the point of anger.
Absolutely. Now, the second stage is anger. And it's pretty much when you recognize that you can't deny it anymore, you start to get angry. You get angry at family, friends, higher powers, what have you. This stage could last. These stages vary widely from person to person. There's no set timeline for these. These stages could probably fit within at least a year or more, because the grieving process, it's very difficult to go through. It's honestly one of the most difficult things to go through, that any human should emotionally have to face. And when it comes to time frames, it can be anywhere from a few months to a few years. So there's no specific timeline on how long each of these stages last.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anger is definitely a big part of the 5 stages.
Yeah, it's different for everybody on how long it does take. So, and the case of Dash is it's in the span of 20 minutes.
Well, maybe it's just a friendship problem and it'll all be cleared up in about a half an hour or so,
Of
as
course.
Sweetie Belle obviously pointed out.
Exactly.
Now, I like to think that this episode came within the span of a couple days, but then again, we don't really know because the show never really tells us the exact passage of time in these episodes. So, going back to anger though, when you look at anger, you're basically looking at blowing up at anyone and anything. Now, when you're grieving, and this is a good point to make note of, you definitely are not yourself. And when you are grieving, people need to understand that you won't be yourself. It's very difficult to be yourself when you're going through this process because it's outside of your comfort zone emotionally, and it's something that your body doesn't really, it never really has the experience to deal with it right away. And so your emotions are going to be in turmoil. And, Dash in the episode is pretty much saying, don't say that word, almost as if the, quote unquote reference, fear of the name increases fear of the thing itself. You're really looking at her not being angry at Pinky specifically, but the fact that Pinky said hibernate. And that's something she doesn't want to hear, nor does she want Tank to hear. Because, honestly, it's her pet. She doesn't want Tank to go. Kind of a bit between anger and bargaining, almost trying to weave the events in such a way that she doesn't need to hear that word. And then a little bit later, you see the rest of the main 6. She is just going at it, going nuts. And, her friends are definitely concerned for her. We're sorry to hear about Tank, but there's no reason to blow up at us. And she's still kind of in that denial stage as well, where she's like, I'm not upset. What are you talking about? I'm not angry. Do I look angry? And then you get that awesome angry face. And again, going through the grieving process, you're going to be a lot more irritable. It's not just the fact of being angry at someone. It's more the fact of when you grieve, you definitely are going to be in more irritable mood because your emotions are all over the place. And you're trying to collect your emotions. Now, stage 3 is called bargaining. And this pretty much involves the hope that the individual can avoid death or avoid
the consequence.
Avoid the consequence of, eventually dying. Now, Silverquill, in his Thanks for the Memories addendum video, I feel put it perfectly. He can sum it up in one sentence. If I can just find the 7 Dragon Balls, I can bring you back to life. Really, in our lives, we really look for something like maybe the doctors can do some miraculous surgery, or maybe maybe God can help them, or something like that. Now, bargaining not just is the hopes of things, it will be the actions as well. When you're really talking about death, especially when you're talking about a higher power, you're begging. You honestly are begging to this higher power, please spare them. Now, in Dash's case, it's going to stop winter. It's going to keep the seasons there, going straight to the source of Cloudsdale and wanting to get that situation under her control. Now, honestly, she definitely was in way over her head. If you really look at her going through the 5 stages of grief, was she out of character? I don't think so. When you're like I said, when you're grieving, you're not in your right mind. And she knew what she was doing. I don't know if I can save you, but I got to try. I know this is wrong, but what does it matter? I'm going to do this for you, no matter the consequence. I've heard of people doing some pretty insane things, honestly. There's there's a lot of people this is mainly a joke, but a lot of people think that Elvis Presley is still alive.
Well, yeah, of course.
Because, why wouldn't they let the King of Rock die, Now, for the most part, it is a joke, but honestly, I think there still are a couple people still living in denial.
Hail to the king, baby.
Yes. The big thing with bargaining, you try everything you can, but honestly, none of it's going to work. As you saw in the episode, no matter what Dash did, no matter how badly she screwed up, no matter how hard she tried to get the water drowned away and all this other stuff, it still failed.
You can't stop winter.
Absolutely. Prepare yourselves, every pony. Winter is coming. I really need to watch Game of Thrones to get that reference.
Same here. I haven't yet to watch a single episode, but I have to admit that was a darn good, well-placed reference.
Absolutely. You get to the 4th stage, which is depression. Everyone knows about depression. However, clinically defined depression, as in clinically diagnosed depression, and a stage of grief depression, they're not the same. Now, when you are clinically diagnosed with depression, it's not any specific thing or person necessarily. It can be pretty much anyone or anything that will just make someone sad. Depression, when you're clinically depressed, it doesn't need to be something. It's just that feeling of loneliness and feeling like people don't care. When it comes to the depression on the stage of grief, a lot of it involves crying, and a lot of it involves letting your emotions out.
I was going to say, it's also like a stage of what's the word I'm looking for? Being honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Like how Fluttershy put it, you just got to take the hard truth.
Yeah. Absolutely. And with depression, it's all the emotions from the first 3 stages coming out. Letting all the emotions that have built up just come bubbling out. And I'm gonna talk a little deeper here. What if I told you that Dash crying in this scene, which honestly, I know this is kind of morbid of me, but it's just the psychological side of me. I was waiting for the day to see Dash actually cry. Throughout the entire series, she's gotten very close a few times, but never actually went over the edge. 2 specific examples I can think of is, the May the Best Pet Win when she first gets Tank. She's at the bottom of the ravine, and her wing's stuck in the rock, and you see her kind of sigh a little bit, and you almost see her cry because she's like, what am I going to do? But it's only there for a split second, and then it's gone. Another episode, The Last Roundup. At the very end of the episode, when Twilight, Rainbow Dash, and Fluttershy are going through and talking to Applejack about the fact that, we can always find the money to fix Town Hall, but if you don't come back, we won't be able to fix what's in our hearts. Very sappy, but you look up at Dash, she almost cries again. And then she just shakes it away. Now you're making me all sappy. Honestly, as much as I don't like TheUndercoverBrony anymore, I still feel that his thoughts about Dash are pretty spot on. She deals a lot with inauthenticity. She's not authentic with herself. Because she doesn't want to be. She doesn't want to face who she truly is because she's wanting to be who she's always wanted to be, which is the being in the Wonderbolts and being the best flyer in Equestria.
Yeah, being number one.
Absolutely.
No faults.
Absolutely. And when you look at these moments, it starts and then it stops in a split second. But here, I feel the culmination of her crying over Tank is not just Tank here. I feel that this is 5 whole seasons of her bottling up her emotions and finally being authentic with herself.
And also, this is a personal loss for her.
Mm-hmm.
Like the other stuff, it was other people. Well, I should say other ponies, other reasons. But Tank is like the one closest living creature to her, and just to know that it's gonna be away for a long time strikes a chord deep inside her.
Absolutely. Like I said, Dash crying here. It's not just about Tank. It's all the emotions that she have within herself bubbling to the surface over the last 5 seasons. And really roll that in your head for a second. Because do you notice there's only been one other pony that she's almost broken that mold with? That she has that bravado about her, but she knows how to talk to this other pony in an authentic way.
Who would that be?
That would be the one and only Scootaloo.
Ah, okay.
Now think about this. Sleepless in Ponyville. Scootaloo broke down the Rainbow Dash. I'm scared. Those stories you were giving me nightmares. Honestly, most people would have expected Dash to laugh at her or be like, seriously, grow up, or something like that. But instead, she smiles kindly and says, well, when I was your age, I was scared too. But I got over it quickly because I found out that if there was something like that, I could take it on. Now that's her bravado showing a bit there, but you noticed how she started being a bit authentic. Never before with any other character, no one, except for maybe Fluttershy, has she ever been truly herself. With Fluttershy, the only thing I can think of is Hurricane Fluttershy, where she's trying to convince Fluttershy to join in with the tornado.
Yeah.
However, in that scene, it's a bit more of a motive behind it. It's more of, I need you in there because we need to get this job done. Mm-hmm. And it was less of, I want to help you overcome something.
Yeah.
Again with Scootaloo. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and then also Fluttershy has been kind of a childhood friend to Rainbow Dash's.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Fluttershy was always there. They were schoolmates. They learned to fly together and all that stuff. So,
absolutely.
Of course, Rainbow Dash is going to have that closer relationship compared to everyone else.
Absolutely.
Sure, they're complete opposites of each other.
And again, you know, with Scootaloo in Flight to the Finish, once again, Scootaloo's breaking down crying. And it's like, what if I never get to fly? What if these wings never get me off the ground. And Dash's response here is, maybe you'll fly someday, maybe you won't. You're awesome anyway. You're good at being you.
Yes.
That is something that you almost never see
Yeah.
out of Dash.
Well, Rainbow Dash, she sees a lot of herself in Scootaloo.
Mm-hmm.
And she understands Scootaloo's weaknesses. So she tries, from her knowledge, tries to give her that confidence.
Absolutely. And it's really great to see. But now getting back to Thanks for the Memories. Yes, the authentic side of Rainbow Dash is coming out here. And one thing I do want to say to the entire audience, to anyone who's watching this, honestly, it's okay to cry. No one ever said that just because you're a guy means that you can't cry. Especially when it comes to something as important as the grieving process. This is an integral part of helping you get to the final stage of acceptance. Because, honestly, you need to be real with yourself. And heck, it's probably going to be a bit easy since we're already kind of going against what is considered manly in watching My Little Pony, And the fact that this whole thing was spawned out of My Little Pony still boggles my mind.
There's nothing wrong with crying. There might be an issue of, it depends on the reason. If it's for something petty, that there might be something wrong there. But if it's for something more, it's acceptable. It's always good to cry. People, never be ashamed. Let out your emotions.
Absolutely. And I'll be the first to admit that the best way my emotions come out is through music. If I hear a beautiful piece of music, especially when it's powerful orchestral music, because as much as I love my EDM stuff, there is a very special place in my heart for orchestrated music. Not necessarily classical, but orchestrated music nonetheless. It gets me to feel a lot. There will be times where tears will be streaming down my face, and I'm just like, this is incredible, and I don't care that I'm crying, but I love this so much. The only other thing outside of music that has really gotten me to cry every single time is the intro to The Last of Us.
For myself, the one bit that gets me all the time would have to be the final fight scene between Optimus Prime and Megatron in the 1986 Transformers film, and the following scene of Optimus Prime's death. Still to this day, I get a glossy, teary-eyed. And the music, definitely the music. Bless Vince DiCola, he did an excellent job portraying the soul of those scenes.
Mm-hmm. And absolutely, at the very end, the piano, the way it's being played, almost has a morbid tone to it, and it fits the scene really well.
Oh, definitely. I can't praise that movie. I can't praise it enough.
Yeah, I love that movie too. And guys, really, we want to discuss these with you. So, put in the comments below what things will get you to feel the most. Whether it be something pony related, something media related, something musically, gaming, what have you. Because these kinds of things can also help us get through this stage as well. I've seen a lot of people who, when they're grieving, they will start blasting some really dark, depressing death metal music. And it helps them. I remember one of the creators at Valve, I believe it was one of the creators at, or no, it was one of the guys at Game Ninja. He went through the 5 stages of grief, and one of the things that helped him through it was playing Left 4 Dead. a lot of these things can definitely be an outlet to help you get to the final stage, which we do need to get to. And this final stage is known as acceptance. You've gotten most of your crying out. It's still okay to cry at this point. But acceptance is really the kind of, it's going to be okay. Life's going to move on. And, going again to Silver Quill's video, because honestly, go watch it. It's an amazing video. But it was talking about in the comics, Wolverine really put a good spin on it, that it's like a cannonball. You get it forcefully taken out, it hurts a lot. And you'll learn to live with it, and then something might rip that wound right back open. But it gets easier each time. Depression and anger are probably two of the largest stages, at least from what I've seen. I don't know usually how long bargaining is, but I've seen a lot of people get angry and depressed at the same time. I've seen people change emotion at the drop of a hat, being angry and then just breaking down all of a sudden. And it's really sad to see some of this stuff happen. But with acceptance, a lot of it is a lot calmer. It's a lot more understanding. You accept what's happening. If you yourself are dying, you accept that, well, it may be my time to go. If you're someone who's experiencing a death of a loved one, you can't stop it. Your tears have been shed, and now it's time to say goodbye in the best way you can. And honestly, I love how they portrayed acceptance in the episode when it's going through, again with Dash saying Tank's ready to hibernate, when before in the anger stage she was completely lost and not wanting anyone to say that word, when now she's saying the word. And then the double whammy of letting Tank, quote unquote, bury himself for winter, going over and starting to read a story for him. And saying, I'll be with you guys in a second. I need to do this. And honestly, that was a beautiful way to show acceptance. Because, once again, will the heartache ever be over? Maybe, maybe not. But one thing you could do is always celebrate the memories of the person that you lost. Honestly, that was a great send-off to Tank going into hibernate for 3 months. So.
Yeah, pretty much. He'll be back, people. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I wonder if anybody told Rainbow Dash that. Did they? I can't remember.
I don't know. But it kind of reminds me of this video by Jerry Pete, who he did Tanks with Memories in like 4 minutes. And the episode came out back in April. And what's so funny is he did this video, and the last comment that he had was, it's the closing shot of the episode, and he's just like, is anyone going to tell her that it's almost May? It's just funny.
Nice.
But yeah, guys, this was a really hard topic to talk about. The psychology in and of itself is not easy, especially when it comes to the 5 stages of grief. There's a lot of stuff to cover and a lot of things that happen during this time. So, I want to thank you guys very much for coming on and talking and, kind of giving your thoughts and opinions. Once again, leave a comment, because we want to kind of discuss this with you guys, and hopefully the YouTube comment system will be back up and running by the time this is uploaded, because of the past several weeks I've not been able to read any comments, yet I see them on the videos no matter what.
Oh no.
Yeah, been a crazy time for YouTube. So, once again, like this video, comment what you think, subscribe if you want to see more, and we'll hope to see you guys later. So that's it from me, John,
And me, Connor.
and we will talk to you guys soon. Peace out, Dragon.